Welcome to the Intuitive Therapist Podcast with Janis R. Cohen, therapist, clairvoyant, empath, and medium. Listen in as she takes a no-nonsense deep dive into real human struggles and how to resolve them. Janis will share channeled information from her spirit guide team, as well as the angels and archangels, to help you master your emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual destiny. And now, Janis R. Cohen.
Hey y'all, this is Janis Cohen, the Intuitive Therapist here on the Intuitive Therapist Podcast. Welcome to another week. I have an amazing guest today, Mindy Strich, here to talk about a fascinating topic about how to heal your body using your emotional anatomy. And I think what I find interesting about this topic, and I think a lot of people don't realize how much our bodies take on our emotions. And I think most people, unless you're aware of how the body compensates for your emotions, we just kind of experience our physical challenges. Well, today, Mindy is going to clear all that up. And even though we inhabit a body, we're composed of energy fields and energy centers that ebb and flow. And today, I'm going to talk with Mindy Strich, the certified practitioner of integrative energetic medicine and a Reiki and healing touch expert. And she's going to help us understand our energy and how to direct the flow of our energy in our bodies to achieve optimal physical health. So I want to tell you a little bit about Mindy. She is a certified practitioner, like I said, of integrative energetic medicine, Reiki, and healing touch. As the owner of Healing Hearts, since 2012, she's assisted clients in seeking answers and support of physical and emotional pain and struggle. She's the co-author of 2 books, one of only 28 certified graduates by Dr. Lisa Rankin to teach the 6 steps of healing based on Dr. Rankin's New York Times bestseller, Mind Over Medicine. Mindy is passionate about taking energy healing into the mainstream and being a bridge between conventional and complementary medicine. In 2020, she published her first online course called Prescriptions for a Heart-Centered Life and continues every month facilitating Divine Conversations, which is an online gathering where women receive support, healing, and wisdom through empowering conversations and a safe and loving community. I'm going to give you all of her contact information. Well, actually, she will at the very, very end, because after this conversation, I can promise you, you're going to want to reach out to her for some support and understanding. So, Mindy, thank you for being on the show today. I'm so happy to have you.
I am so happy to be here. I woke up very excited this morning, Janis.
It's good stuff. Well, I have to tell you, Mindy and I are connected through Facebook, and I have watched her posts called Heart Whispers every day. And I just love what you say. There's such depth, such good reminders, good quotes, good stories, good messages. And I always want listeners to understand how my guests have gotten to where they've gotten. So tell me the story about you. Tell me the story about Healing Hearts, and let's start there.
Sure. Well, I'll try to summarize it because I could spend the whole podcast talking about this amazing journey. You know, I often say that I didn't find energy healing. Energy healing found me. And it was the culmination of what I think we all unconsciously go through in our lives, this path of awakening. And I don't necessarily mean that in a spiritual way, unless you want to take it as a spiritual way. But, you know, energy has patterns, and a lot of our lives, we spend it unconsciously and we don't see what's happening until something happens and it wakes us up. So my wake-up call came when I wound up in the hospital in 2010 with an episode of a chronic illness called POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia. I know that it's POTS now, but I didn't know it then. Most people never heard of it. And now with COVID on the scene, it's interesting to me how it's coming up a lot. But anyway, I wound up in the hospital. For 25 years at that time, doctors could not diagnose what was going on with me. And here I was in the hospital again, and I knew they ran a battery of tests, and the good news was nothing showed up, and the bad news was nothing showed up. And when I left the hospital, I said, I have to do something else. Conventional medicine is just not finding the answers here. And I have a really good friend who said, I'm taking you to a healing circle. And I said, what's a healing circle? But I was ready to do anything. So I went to this healing circle and I watched this man who now is a very close friend of mine, my mentor, my teacher, my guide, Dr. Fernand Poulin, who was the founder of the White Winds Institute, where I wound up going to school. But I watched him do all of this healing stuff, which I knew nothing about, waving his hands, talking about energy fields, watching people just start crying and have their pain reduced. And it wasn't like a come to Jesus moment or anything religious. It was, I can't tell you why in my head, Janis, everything just seemed to make sense. But in my heart, I thought, oh my God, this guy's the real deal. I need to learn more about this. I trusted him. He felt authentic. So I signed up for a class. I decided I need to figure out what's going on with me. So I signed up for a year-long program in IEM, Integrative Energetic Medicine, for my own healing. That was my own.
Sure.
It was only that. I had no intention consciously of becoming a healer.
Yeah.
1 week after I started the course, my husband at the time came home, told me he was gay, and that ended our marriage. So just fast forward and rewind. At that moment, everything in my life fell apart and came together at the same time.
Wow.
Because I know now that the reason I was in the hospital was because I was in denial. I was burying what I didn't want to see, that this was going to happen. And you can't bury it. And the POTS and whatever else I'm going through and whatever else anybody else is going through is a combination of what doctors can find that's physically out of balance in your physical body, in your life, but also emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. And all the pieces started to come together when I went to healing school. It not only helped me heal my POTS, it helped me heal my divorce.
So wow. I always, and I'll use this word very, very loosely, the word interesting. It's really fascinating to me because I love learning about people. It's one of my biggest passions, and hearing people's stories help me do that. And essentially what you're saying is, I knew the truth. I knew the truth up front, but I didn't want to accept it. And then my body took over, and my body absorbed the truth that I knew that I was fighting. And I think that's such a powerful thing to say. And I'm sure of course, because this is how you live your life, spirit leads us to what we need to see and what we need to have. And it certainly sounds like that was your path. And here you are now, speaking your truth, living your truth, helping people do that through understanding their bodies and learning how to use the energy. And it's to me, that's a gift, and that's a gift that you give everybody. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, very true what you're saying. I think it was a quote I heard Oprah Winfrey say a long time ago, that life is always trying to get our attention. And first it may feel like a little pebble and you just ignore it and you just go on with life.
Right.
But then if you ignore that pebble, then that pebble turns into a rock and you start to see something, but you still decide not to listen to it because you just don't want to.
Right.
You don't want to face the truth, but you can bury it all you want. And, I say in my life, that rock not only turned into a boulder, it knocked my entire house down, my physical, my emotional, every part of me.
Yeah.
And that happens to a lot of us. We hear it all the time where people say, my cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me. My losing my job was the best thing that ever happened to me, because we get that wake up call. Pain. I love this acronym for pain. Pay attention inward now. It's not trying to hurt us. It's trying to wake us up, but we don't listen to it because we don't know how to listen to our body and communicate with our body. We just listen to what our head tells us and what our mind is telling us and the thoughts that are telling us, everything. And I like to refer to that part of us, our ego, our mind, as the fake news.
Yeah.
It's not true.
Yeah.
It's the illusion.
And I also think that I know I have not paid attention to red flags in my life. There's no question. Everybody experiences that in some or many, many areas of their lives. And without a doubt, it's because you don't want to pay attention to it. But I think just in terms of the work that I've done over my time of being a therapist, I think people are scared that they won't know what to do with it. And they don't feel capable of being able to cope. So we just kind of push it away.
Well, I tell every single client that comes to me at the beginning is that it takes a lot of courage and chutzpah to heal. It's not a magic pill. Part of what the challenge is with conventional medicine, and I just want all your listeners to know that I believe in conventional medicine. This is not a naysay of I have conventional doctors. But there are places where I don't think conventional medicine is the answer, because we can't go to the doctor and ask for the pill to take the pain away. And that's often what happens there. Here's the pill, here's the treatment. And sometimes the pill may work to take the symptoms away, but it doesn't often take away the root of the problem.
Right.
And so when people come to me for a healing session or to learn more about healing, my first thing of always is to be honest with them and say, this is not a magic pill. You have
to deal with your stuff.
I'm not just healing you. I'm not just waving my hands and poof, you're healed. I'm working with you to help you do your own healing. Yeah. It's like going to a gym and saying, I need to lose weight and hire a personal trainer. The personal trainer is not going to be able to lose weight for you. You have to lift the weight.
That's exactly
and
right.
You have to show up all the time.
Right.
And so it's twofold. It's not only that people don't know how to do it, but to be completely honest, a lot of people don't want to do it.
No kidding. Hey, that's why I stay in business, because people get to a point where they can't do it themselves, and they have tried to avoid it and tried to avoid it and tried to avoid it, and then they're like, hey, it's time. So I would love for the listeners to know, help them understand what energy healing is, especially how you do what you do. What's a session like with you? What's the progression like? How do you help somebody?
My whole heart just breaks open wide when you ask me that question. It's evolved into very different things. If you would have asked me that question when I first started my healing practice almost 10 years ago, I would have probably given you a different answer, because it was all about then getting somebody on the massage table, fully clothed, and working within their energy field. So what's an energy field? We are more than physical. If you look at yourself under a microscope, you look very different than when you look at yourself in the mirror. We, at the foundation of who we are billions of molecules of energy that are floating around in space. And there's more to it than meets the eye, literally. So it's been measured scientifically that there's a field of energy that surrounds our body that extends about 3 to 4 feet from our physical body. And so I work within that field. That field stores all of the energy of our emotions, of our thoughts, of all the experiences and traumas of our lives, of our soul. And I've been trained, and I could feel where there are depletions or tensions or imbalances in that field. And when I am, touching that field, I'm also touching your body. So a session then used to be just me doing some of the techniques that I've learned in healing touch and integrative energetic medicine and Reiki. But now it's a combination of that and also talking to people. I'm a certified life coach as well. And for me, the biggest part of a healing session is having a conversation and just listening to somebody. That's how I read energy. We can all do it. I just practice it. Okay, we don't all practice it, right? So if somebody walks into a room and has a conversation with you, you start to read their energy. Do you like them? Are they telling you the truth? Are they giving you a story? Is there something that feels like they're holding something back? You're feeling sadness around them, et cetera, et cetera. That's all part of energy healing. So for me, I like to sit and have a conversation and just like you are doing with me, tell me about yourself. What's going on? Things start to light up for me in their body. And so then when I do get them on the table and start to, practice the techniques I learned, I know exactly where to go because of the conversation that we had.
That's so fascinating.
And the longer I work with somebody and the better I know them, they don't even have to walk into the room and I could tell you what's going on with them because we're connected.
Yep, I agree. No question.
We're always connected.
No question. No question. And there's that empath piece that a lot of my listeners have. I think more people are waking up, you want to call it experiencing the awakening. Huge shift in 3D to 5D and being able to connect with people's their intuition and their empathic gifts. And so it makes complete sense that you're able to pick up on people's energy. And a lot of people are doing that too. And I feel like everybody is becoming much more sensitive. So there's the only way I know how to describe is that things are becoming, I guess, a bit more prickly. So maybe that makes it easier for you to pick up on energy. I do that too as well. But it's fascinating to me when you say, somebody doesn't even have to walk in the room and you get a sense of what's going on with them. And when you think about that and the fact that you have really strengthened that muscle of yours to pay attention, because there are so many nuances in energy. And it fascinates me that you're able to locate the specific area in somebody's body. So what do people come to you for? Why would they seek you out?
There's lots of reasons. Sometimes people come to me because they're in the same situation that I was in. Nothing else has worked. So they're desperate. They're trying to find an answer, and conventional medicine has failed them.
Yeah.
Or again, in my case, I knew, you mentioned intuition briefly. I didn't identify it as that then. I do now, but it's that knowing inside of you that something just doesn't feel right. Maybe you feel that on your own, or like for me, when I was going to the doctors for 25 years and they would say, I think it's this, I think it's that. I'm like, no, it's something else. I don't know what it is. But when I went to that healing circle all those years later, and my head couldn't understand it, that knowing inside of me went, that's it. I have no idea what that means, but that's it. So when we have that knowing, so people don't know what to do with it. So they come to me and I help them figure out what to do with it. No, they're not crazy. not at all, just the opposite. Maybe they are empaths, but they've never had anybody work with them, teach them, guide them, accept them to say, yes, what you're feeling is real. What I'm saying I feel, yes, some of it is because I've been professionally trained and I've been doing for 10 years, of course. But I'm telling you, every human being on this planet can do this.
I agree.
And there are some people that are more sensitive and more of an empath who never even heard about that word. They don't know what's going on within themselves, and they have nobody else to talk to about it. So somehow through that connection, through synchronicity, through a friend, through a doctor, I don't know, they find me, and for the first time in their life, they go, oh my God, I'm not crazy.
Isn't that wonderful to hear? I hear that so much. And it's like to be able to provide that awareness to them. Like, no, you're not. Here's what it is. And here's how you can protect yourself. And here's how you can use it. As you were talking.
Well, not only that, but it starts their healing. Like
beautiful.
Just that opening
I was going to ask
opens up a door that was never open before. And if they're experiencing something physically in their body, an illness, it shifts it. I had a client, I've had many miracles, but you mentioned maybe there's more sensitivity. I had a client just a couple of weeks ago who has been struggling with asthma for almost her whole life. The day after our session, she sent me a video. I was in tears. She said, I want you to see this for the first time in 25 years.
Wow.
I could take a deep breath.
That's amazing.
Now that doesn't always happen. It does happen sometimes when the stars align.
Sure. Now, did you clear a challenge in a relationship with her? Did you clear some early childhood trauma? Did you connect with the fact that there were some past life issues, or that she wasn't using her voice to express herself?
Wow, very intuitive of you. In this particular case,
that's why they call me intuitive therapist, dear.
Well, it's not always about the voice, but asthma, for instance, could be about the lungs and the heart, because that's the chakra where it's it's most influenced by. But in this particular case, there were some thyroid things that were going on about her using her voice. So see, we are connected because you picked that up. So yes, it was all of the above. And it was also, she had never had a healing session before. So, 25 years of dealing with a pattern that started in a toxic relationship back then, that built up. When I moved a lot of that energy and talked about all the things that you are referencing and, everything else that we talked about, it cleared it. It cleared it, Now, does that mean that she's never going to have an asthma attack again? I don't know. To be completely honest, I don't know. A lot of it is going to be her continuing to do healing, whether that's with me and her own healing is to not bring back those patterns of thought and patterns of living.
Right.
She knows her own inability to let go of toxic beliefs in relationships, how she allowed, men to treat her, for example. Part of the healing, she could come to me all she wants and I could clear the energy, and she'll probably be able to breathe better temporarily.
Right.
But if she keeps bringing those relationships into her life, that's her part. That's what I mean when I say some people don't want to know the truth or don't want to take the responsibility.
I agree.
There's a knowing, just like I knew deep down inside of me that my ex-husband was gay.
Yeah.
But there were so many other things that we loved about each other that and we had a good life. I just didn't want to see it.
Sure.
And I'm sure that every listener that's listening to this right now may not be able to admit it out loud like I am, but they could admit it to themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. When you check someone's energy field when they're in your presence, and we'll talk about if you do any remote healing, what's your primary clair? Do you pick up, is it through the feeling? Is it through seeing? Is it through hearing? Is it through knowing? I know all the clairs are complementary. Mine, I'm clairvoyant, so I see everything, but I'm also very empathic. I feel everything, and all these others, are in play. What's your primary way of receiving and being able to?
I'm definitely a feeler.
Okay.
I'm a feeler. As I have practiced more, I'm becoming more clairvoyant. I could see more.
Right.
So it can change. You can add to it.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel. And sometimes, when I'm working in somebody's energy field, I may not even feel an emotion. But I feel energy. Like if I put my hand in your field, I could just feel my hand will just blow up with, vibrations and heat.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I don't even try to figure out what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I just know I have to hang out there.
Yeah.
Until that energy just moves, because the energy has a consciousness, Janis, that is an intelligence that is a lot wiser than me.
Yes.
And I have to trust it.
Sure.
And I have to ask my clients to trust it too. If I put my hand over your abdomen and I'm feeling something and I'm just hanging out there and I say to you, how are you doing right now? And you say, oh my God, I'm starting to feel really sad, or my pain is going away, or I'm starting to see colors, and this happens all the time. I know that I've hit that mark.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And it's very rare that somebody comes in and doesn't feel better when they leave, even if we don't say a word to each other, because the energy will move. There's not, and I don't say this egotistically, because energy healing is not for everybody, but I really, really believe that anybody, skeptic, believer, or anybody in between, that comes in for a healing session walks out of my office different than when they walked in.
I would absolutely believe that. Do you tend to narrate at times while you're moving your hands over? Because it's like I'm seeing that you do it, almost like telling the story, or I'm picking this up and almost revealing to them kind of what's underneath, and then they're like, yeah, that's it. Does that happen?
I used to when I first started. I don't anymore. I do that after, because when you go, if you were to interview 10 different healers, they're going to have 10 different approaches.
Yeah.
But that's why I like to do the talking first, the healing after, and then a little bit of talking if we have time after. Because what I see happening is that when I'm working on somebody and they're on the table and I'm helping to shift and facilitate the movement of energy, if I start telling them a story, it puts them right back into their head. They start thinking, analyzing.
Very present. Yeah. Okay.
And I don't want them to be in their head. I want them to be completely present and not be thinking. I don't want them to be thinking. Of course, they're going to think anyway, but I want them to be as relaxed as possible at that time. We could talk about it after, but I find that the energy moves faster and goes deeper without having those conversations. Now, having said that, there are often times where I will sit, at the table with my hand over somebody's heart for an entire session and talk to them because of something that's coming up. So part of it for me reading the energy is this a session where we're going to talk?
Right.
Is that what my client needs to release the energy? Or have we talked enough? And is this just the time to just let the energy be the energy and trust that everything is moving accordingly. Because in an energy healing session, the healing starts during the session. It's when you leave my office that everything starts to integrate and shift. You're more expanded, you're lighter, your energy is at a higher vibration because you've moved a lot of those denser energies, those thoughts, those emotions that you had buried. As all of that moves and shifts, you feel lighter, and you are more engaged with your energy field.
Yeah.
So there are more there's always opportunities for connection, but you are more able to see them, if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
So I touch base with my clients in the next 24, 48 hours to see how they are doing and to remind them, don't go back up into your head.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I use the example, listen, if you decided to lose some weight and you went to the gym and you had this wonderful experience and you're really raring to go, you're not driving through the McDonald's drive-through on the way home.
Yeah.
You're going home and you're having a salad and your green drinks and you're doing everything and you feel better, right? It's the same thing. Watch your thoughts. Watch your thoughts. You have to shift. You have to shift in your life as well.
Sure.
To really see the benefits of a healing session.
How does someone with like migraines, or one thing I'm quite curious about because my sister struggles with fibromyalgia, how do you help somebody with that?
Well,
what would you do?
I think everybody, there's books that I have that say if you have fibromyalgia, it could be this. If you have migraines, it could be this. That's a start. That's a foundation. But everybody's story is different. And when you come to see me, the first thing I do before you come to see me is I send you like a 10-page questionnaire. Asking questions about different parts of your life. How's your work life? How's your home environment? How's your creative life? How's your sex life? Do you have money troubles? What's your relationship like with your spouse? Are you lonely? Where do you feel stressed out? And so on and so forth.
So real solid inventory.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I start picking up things from that as well. So if it's a migraine headache and I have 5 clients that have migraine headaches, I could go to different places depending on what their story is. But additionally, with migraines, that's a crown chakra and a third eye chakra issue. So for me, that the clue is, are you connected to your spiritual self? Are you trusting your intuition? There's something going on where you're not being your authentic self.
I'm sure a lot of people who are listening right now will appreciate hearing that, because I do know several people who struggle with migraines, and it's debilitating, absolutely debilitating. And like you said, it's like medicine can only do so much. Then the real component is, how are you working on yourself, right, to clear things up, in addition to what other modalities can you use that will really shift your energies. That makes complete sense.
Well, migraines are a good example of what we do with most painful situations.
Okay.
We resist the pain, right? We resist it. We don't want the pain. We tense up, go away, leave me alone. One of the things I do with migraines is have people visualize what the migraine looks like. And I've had pretty good success with migraines going from a 8 to a 10 down to a 2 or a 3.
Describe what you mean when you have a client visualize the migraine.
So
They see it as a
Close your
color, a
eye.
shape.
Yeah, close your eyes and without judging it, what does your migraine look like right now?
Mm,
Does it have a color? Does it have a shape? Does it have a temperature? Just notice it. And they always say something that leads to a bit of a conversation. Like they might say, it's a black stabbing cloud. So I'll say, oh, tell me more. How does that feel? Is there something in your life that's stabbing at you? And then we'll go off into a conversation. And the whole time I'm still working on their migraine in their energy field around their head or feeling things, right? So I'm moving energy at the same time. And then at some point I will go back and say, tell me what level, if we started at a level 8, where is the migraine now? Oh, it's a 5. Does it still look like a black stabbing cloud? No, the color is changing.
mm.
So as we're doing this, the migraine is reducing.
Amazing.
And then there's always some clue somehow into something else that's going on in their life that may be contributing to the migraines.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I was just thinking about fertility issues. I'm poking around in your expertise. So for fertility issues, have you ever helped? Thank you. Sorry, they're correcting me. How many people have you helped with fertility issues? And what about clearing money issues? Have you ever helped people with that where you uncover that their physical symptoms are connected to their money blocks, or they come to you because they want to clear up money blocks, or they want to get pregnant and they can't? What about those?
I've only had one fertility issues. I wouldn't say that's my expertise, though. I do believe that, if somebody's coming to me, I could help. I could help them. I did have one client several years ago who was referred by a friend who could not, actually, she was a very religious person who did not believe in energy healing at all.
Wow.
But she so wanted a baby, and this was her last chance. It was her
Wow.
last chance. So a friend of hers told her about me, and she came, and she had a baby, and she had a baby after that.
What was blocking her? Was it the rules? Was it connected to sex? What was it?
Well, what we went into was a couple things, after recall it. One was that, her mind believed that she couldn't get pregnant, but her body didn't believe that. Like her body knew she could get pregnant. So she had to align her mind. Like she had failed so many times that she had this belief that she couldn't get pregnant. And she was also, like so many women in that situation, putting so much pressure on herself that time was running out and she had to have the baby. And, she was forcing the situation instead of just relaxing into it.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying before. It's about almost anything. What we resist persists.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this to your listeners, and this really came home as a truth to me in the last year of the pandemic, where I really embodied a belief that I had believed, but now I really believe because I feel it. Whatever you are resisting in your life is not the obstacle, it's the opportunity.
I love it.
And it's in going into that resistance. For me, I'll be honest, it was loneliness, right? I have resisted ever since I've been divorced. I have resisted my loneliness, waited for that relationship to come, just couldn't understand why. Well, I couldn't heal myself of that.
Mm-hmm.
The pandemic healed me of that.
Ooh,
because I had to, I had a choice.
Yeah.
I could either get sucked back down into it big time. But what I realized was, oh my God, the one thing that has never left me alone is my loneliness.
Right. And you
and
had
I
to
went
sit
into
with
it
it.
as a gift.
Yeah.
So wherever you're feeling that tension, especially with migraine headaches, that tension is what not needs to be pushed away and ignored and judged. It needs to be embraced.
Right.
And we need to breathe into it. That's what they say when you're giving birth, right? Don't push, breathe.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
What else is Jasmine? Money problems?
Yeah, like if people come and they say, I feel like I'm blocked with money. Has anybody ever come to you for that?
I don't know that anybody has ever come to me specifically for that, but it is definitely a symptom for a lot of things that are coming up in their lives that they have never connected. Lower back pain, for example, back pain in general. Money is all about security.
Mm-hmm.
You know, feeling safe, feeling secure. Money is also about, talk about childhood, right? How were you, what are your beliefs around money? I grew up with a belief that there was never going to be enough of it, that money is hard to get, that money happens to other people. So when you have these unconscious beliefs, how do you treat your money?
Right.
Do you waste it?
Right.
I once heard something that I never forgot. I love this, if money was your boyfriend or your significant other or your girlfriend, if you look at your money like you look at your relationship, how long would it stay around? How do you treat your money?
Yeah, how would you regard it? Yeah. So good.
You have to be in alignment with it. There has to be value there.
Yeah.
Because money is just energy, Janis.
It is just energy. And I love that you said what you just said, because I cannot tell you how many times, either in a reading that I do or even with clients, they're like, I just feel like I'm stuck with money. And I talk about alignment, talk about the fact that it's energy, and it's true. And majority of people that come to me, they're spiritually conscious, so they get the whole energy thing. But I loved what you just said, and I hope listeners, y'all hear this. If you were to regard money as something that you cherished, as you valued, as you were in love with it, that you wanted to preserve it, you wanted to keep it, you wanted to honor it, you sure as shit would regard it very differently than wasting it away or feeling like there was lack. You can't be in a relationship if you're in lack. So I love that. Thank you for that. That was absolutely brilliant. Wonderful.
Respect
wonderful.
it. Yes.
Respect it. Yeah.
When's the last time you paid your electric bill and said thank
you? Right. I love it. You are
Right.
hitting it home, lady. Hitting it home. So you have programs. You have 2 programs that you offer. Tell the listeners about that. What the healing programs? Just a little bit about.
Well, I don't have 2 programs. I have different packages of sessions that you could buy. They're all the same sessions, but the more sessions you do, the less they are per session. So there's that. And there's also, you referenced it to
the classes, maybe
at the beginning, my online course. This was a labor of love for 2 years. And again, a gift of the pandemic, because I had the opportunity to finish it. And I'm so proud of this course. It's called Prescriptions of a Heart-Centered Life. And anybody that purchases it also gets a free healing session. I really developed it as an adjunct to use in my healing sessions to help people understand. The name of my business is Healing Hearts. I came to this work because I healed my heart. And now my online course is all about the heart, because for me, that's the key, is learning how to listen to our hearts, learning how to get out of our heads and into our hearts, because our hearts are so much more than just a physical organ.
Right.
And it's also the portal to our souls. So connecting to your heart. This course is self-study. There's meditations, there's exercises, there's journaling exercises,
awesome. Good.
there's readings there, and it you could do it, it talks about the intuitive heart, it talks about the physical heart, talks about the emotional heart. And I believe that, as I mentioned, I could spend an entire session just with my hand over somebody's heart, because everything,
That's the
nothing
epicenter.
bypasses the heart.
Yes.
Nothing
epicenter.
bypasses the heart in our lives.
Yeah.
In so many different ways. If your heart is out of sync, if your heart is out of harmony, so is everything else in your body.
That's exactly right.
But what do we do with the heart? We build walls up. We get hurt. So we build a wall up. I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to talk to that person.
Or we don't trust other people, because we think that trust in others is really about them, but it's not. It's about your ability to keep yourself safe.
And then we have to do it the opposite of what we think.
Right.
The best way to keep ourselves safe is not to defend yourself and build the walls. It's to open yourself and be vulnerable.
Amen.
We got it wrong. We got it wrong.
Did y'all hear that? She's going to say it again. There you go. The only way to keep yourself safe is to what?
Open your heart. Open your heart.
Absolutely. That's why love is so important. I was speaking with someone yesterday. It was a client, and she was dealing with a challenge she had with her boyfriend, and she was asking me what to do. And I said, you know what? She tends to have kind of an edge to her voice. And I said, you know what? I'm feeling that. And if you go in with that edge, you're going to be screwed. So go in with love, go in with compassion, go in into your relationship, knowing that neither of you have any malicious intent. Go in with that, lead with love. And it's exactly what you're saying. It changes everything. And the heart, I love that. So y'all have to check out that program of hers, and the 2 books she's co-authored, 28-Day Thought Diet, and then Faith, Finding Answers in the Heart. Do you do remote work for people who kind of, especially now, maybe they're starting to get a little concerned about COVID ticking up? And do you do remote work with people?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And more now because of COVID.
Right.
It's so interesting, because Zoom was available before COVID, but it was never in our consciousness. And now I do Zoom healing sessions all the time. So yeah, I have clients all over the US, and it's wonderful. It works just the same.
A lot of people don't realize
we are all
that.
Connected.
Yeah, people will call me and say, gosh, but can you pick up the energy if in a reading, if I'm not sitting in front of you? I'm like, yep, and you just said it.
Yeah, the same way we connect. And I have a whole page on my website that explains how and why remote sessions work.
Excellent.
I like to do in-person sessions, because I like to be around people, but it's a great opportunity to still get healing sessions no matter where you are.
Yeah, I love it. Mindy, one of the goals of having guests on my podcast, when I have them, is to really help listeners understand the power that they have to heal themselves, to understand energy, intuition, and to give them nuggets and skills and strategies about how to kind of survive this human life as a spiritual being. And introducing you to them is one way to do that, because of the essential work that you do, the wisdom in it. So I really want to encourage you listeners, it doesn't matter where you live, please reach out to Mindy. You can tell that she is so gifted and so skilled. She knows her shit, y'all. So if you're struggling, reach out to her. She can be an amazing supplement to your process of really uncovering the challenges that you face. And of course, you'll do it when you're ready. But she's a spiritual coach. She's got you. You're in her presence. I feel it. you're going to get help. And she's solid, just so solid. So that said, tell people how they can reach you. What are all the ways?
Yeah, well, thank you, Janis. That was very sweet. Well, my website is www.mindystrich.com. So that's MindyStrich.com. Or you can call me directly. I love to chat, 678-642-7771. And
Wonderful.
anybody that does want to find out more, I am more than happy to do a 20 or 30-minute consultation with you on the phone or on Zoom to just, I really want to work with people that are ready
Yes.
and feel like this is for them. I will never try to convince you to come and do a healing session if I don't feel like you as a potential client are in alignment with that. It's not fun.
It won't work
for me. And it's not, it has to come from within you.
And when you say, I feel the same way too. I'm like, unless you're all in, I'm not gonna work with you, because it's not gonna be effective, or as effective as it could be if you're really ready. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. That's why I mentioned before during our chat, a lot of people aren't ready. It's not a magic pill. It takes work and commitment, because if you want your life to change, then you have to do something to change your life.
Y'all listen to that. Seriously, there's not one way to do it. And I always encourage people to use all the resources you can, because they're out there. And I also want to encourage listeners. Some of you listeners aren't entirely spiritual, which is fine, but there's a reason why you listen to my podcast. You can balance, like Mindy said, the Eastern Western approach. And I really, really encourage y'all to open up to looking at the physical symptoms a little differently, because imagine what it would be like if you finally were able to heal yourself. Imagine what that would be like. So again, please reach out to Mindy Strich. I apologize, I mispronounced your last name, so I am now saying it correctly, Strich. Mindy, thank you for being with me today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your gifts and your process. And I'm excited to see all the people that reach out to you and get your help, because I'll tell you, we need it. You're a gift.
Thank you, Janis. This has really been a pleasure. And come see me.
You got it. All right.
We healers need to practice what we preach. So we need to heal ourselves too, because we're picking up other people's energies as well. You know that. So
yes,
we need to clear that too.
Well, thank you so much. And as I always say at the end of my podcast, I wish you a blessed day, a wonderful week, and always live intuitively.
Thanks for listening to The Intuitive Therapist. If you like what you heard, the best compliment you can give us is to share this podcast with a friend. And be sure to give us some stars and a favorable review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in.